it's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Brett Wells, DDS, who's a practicing who's a practicing dentist and owner of Wells Family Dental Group in Raleigh, North Carolina. An entrepreneur at heart, he opened a restaurant venture in 2014 called Tasty Eats Gourmet Hot Dog Company, partnered to launch a Twitter-based software service called Tweetbox, and most recently, in response to the growing need for dental insurance alternatives, launched DentalHQ. DentalHQ revolutionizes dental practices by helping them create, customize, and automate tracking and payment of in-house dental membership plans. In his ever-dwindling spare time, Brett enjoys spending time with friends and colleagues, traveling, Carolina sports, and cooking. And he's got a Facebook group called Dental Foodies. How long did it take you to get over the Super Bowl loss?
Oh, which one? The Denver?
The Panthers. Carolina Panthers.
Well, there's been two now, and I've been at both games. And the first one against the Patriots, where we muffed the kickoff at the end of the game, and that was probably the most devastating one. But the Denver one, I mean, we were out of that one from the beginning, so that was a little easier.
I'm so glad I never bet on sports because you had this young, hot Cameron guy who could dive over the line, do a flip, land on his feet. I mean, he's just big, he's huge, he's young, against this Peyton Manning guy who looked like he was ready to go into traction and rehab, and who won? The old guy. I just couldn't believe it.
I never in a million years thought that game was even going to be that Denver even had a chance. We both had great defenses, and we had a much better offense. I didn't think it was even going to be close, and we got our butts kicked. So it is what it is. But yeah, Denver 10-1 fan wise in that game, so I think that had a little bit to do with it. It was loud.
And yesterday, the Cardinals won the first half 14-0 and then went on to lose the game. I mean, at halftime, I would have bet my car, okay, we got this one. And I'm so glad I still have my car. I never vote because I'm not smart enough. Well, the reason I brought you on the show is because Americans, they would, something about health insurance, they just think that, they got to have insurance or they can't buy, which is so crazy. Like, they buy the biggest thing most Americans will ever purchase is their home, and their home is usually about 3 times more expensive than the largest health procedure they could have. Like if you got cancer, you live in a $300,000 house. Well, the cancer would probably be $100,000, but they're like, well, I can't purchase something for $100,000, and then they'll buy a car. The median average price of a car sold last year was $33,500. They don't blink about buying that. They don't blink, but when it comes to dentistry, even though it costs, the price of their iPhone, they just, in their mind, they just feel like they can't buy without insurance. So basically what you're doing is you're just making them feel better. I have insurance, so now I can go ahead and purchase this.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that. I mean, everything you described from a car to a house allows consumers to make monthly payments. So, your mortgage, your car payments, consumers think in terms of monthly payments. They don't think in terms of the big bulk price. So I think, membership plans, when you break things down into a monthly option, gives consumers that more palatable price point. If our patients come in to see us every, 6 months, if they've got extra bills to pay, if their kids having to get braces or, going off to college, to put aside the $200 to go get your teeth cleaned is kind of an easy call if you're not having any problems. But when we make it affordable and give them better access, then they're going to come in every 6 months. It kind of just reduces that barrier to entry. I think that's one of the things, that we're doing a lot better job of as a profession is kind of breaking, our treatments down and procedures and care into more palatable monthly payments. So I think that's a big reason behind a lot of the surgeons all of a sudden of all these automated in-house membership plans.
Okay, so they're driving to work right now, so I always retweet your Twitter handle. It's at @dental_HQ, and I'm going to retweet your deal. So what would they do? They go to the website dentalhq.com, and what are they going to find?
They're going to find big and bold kind of our mission to begin with, which was dental insurance is a problem. We solved it. So you see that quote, you're on our site, big and blue up top. And then the bottom just goes through a lot of information about what's going on with insurance right now, kind of some of the sticking points, the pain points that we're experiencing as a profession, what a membership plan is, and then how to get in touch with us and how to sign up to get going with the plan if you're interested.
Now, oh, I love that. Is that a train?
Yeah, I live in a condo in downtown Raleigh, and I've got about 8 train tracks on either side of me, so I honestly don't even notice it. But
You know what? It's so cool because I grew up in Wichita there, and it was always the Catholic churches would bring at the hour, and then trains, and I just think they're the coolest damn sounds. I love those sounds. So how much? We'll talk about the details. So how do they sign up? What does it cost? And is it a 1-year plan or is this in perpetuity? Because what I'm fascinated with is like the fact that Netflix is worth what Disney is because Wall Street loves the reoccurring revenue business model. You know, Netflix every month they're going to ding millions of credit cards for another $10. And then they look at Disney and they're like, well, Disney's got to invest $100 million into a blockbuster. It's got to do $300 million. It might not do the $300 million, but it's boom bust, boom bust. And Wall Street pays bank for reoccurring revenue models. But when I see a lot of these dentists set up these dental membership plans, they're for like 1 year. Well, then at 1 year, you have the boom and bust again. And now you got to take your number one expense, labor, the dentist, the staff. The dentist is 35%, the staff 25%, trying to get Mrs. Jones to sign up for another year. I want these things in perpetuity. I want to get your credit card and ding it every gosh darn month till the end of time. I mean, that is the only way that gym memberships work. I mean, you talk to anybody who owns a gym, they say that when you sign up for a gym, that you're motivated. Their biggest month is New Year's resolution. And by 8 months, almost no one's coming back, but it takes them 38 months to unhinge their credit card. So they get excited, you go 8 months, and then they still dinging them. Every gym owner that I know in Phoenix and Tempe and Challenge says, my God, if all my members showed up, they'd all want a refund. There wouldn't be a machine for them. Yeah. So the reoccurring revenue business model is intense. Do you do this, or does it go bank bust at 1 year?
Absolutely. So that was kind of one of the reasons why I created this, because I was doing an annual plan in my office, and we went to the state board. We figured out, came up with a contract, a form we had them sign. We made them a little card. And then the real hassle began. I realized that we were just renewing people when they were coming in for their cleanings. So it might be, they might come in 6 or 7 months for their 6-month cleaning. It might be another 7 or 8 months. And then all of a sudden we're looking at a 16-month renewal period when it was supposed to be 12 months, So I was like, oh man, we're losing a lot of money here because our annual membership plans just got stretched out to a 16 or 17 month. So then I started having my team running the memberships, collecting everyone's credit card, running it annually. Then it created a lot more administrative headaches for them. And it got to the point where we almost gave up on our membership plan. So that's when we started creating that's when I started building DentalHQ. I knew what I wanted it to do. I wanted to give dentists a lot of flexibility because like at our office, we still offer an annual plan because a lot of our older patients really like to put it on an annual plan. They don't like to have recurring payments on their cards. Well, at least that's what we found. And so we'll put it on.
But can you reoccurring revenues and say, okay, we'll ding it every January 1st instead of just saying I'm going to ding it for a year, but I'll renew it every other year until you tell me not to?
Yeah. So, exactly. That's what the system does. It automates it. So you can set up a monthly plan. You can set up an annual plan. We find a lot of times our elderly patients like the annual, our younger patients like the monthly plans, and, a mix all around the board. We charge a little bit less for an annual plan if you multiply the monthly times 12. And so we get a lot of people who will go ahead and prepay for the year just to take advantage of maybe it's just $25. But, by giving the flexibility to the offices, I think that's been a real selling point for our company.
And how old is DentalHQ?
Well, we launched at the ADA last year. So we're rapidly approaching our 1 year anniversary, but we beta tested. I started building DentalHQ 2 years before we launched. The designs, it took me 6 months to get all the designs, development, beta testing, and then we finally launched, outside of beta at the ADA last year.
And I see Roger Levine's picture on your website, the founder of the Levine Group. He says on your website, DentalHQ helps practices tremendously to retain existing patients and attract new ones. I recommend DentalHQ for any practice that wants to decrease insurance dependence. So is he a partner on this with you?
He absolutely is. Yeah, he's, Dr. Charles Blair and Dr. Roger Levin are two kind of practice management gurus that I've always, gone to their classes for probably 10 years. And so both of them, at some of their different courses, I heard about membership plans from Charles Blair 7 years ago. So I pulled both of them aside and I went down to Charlotte. I met with Charles Blair. I probably spent 8 or 12 hours walking through everything with him, getting his advice, kind of molding the software based on what he felt that dentists would want. And the same thing with Dr. Roger Levin. I mean, he's educated over 30,000 dentists over his 30-year career, and I thought he would, both of these people would make great partners. Dr. Levin is a minority partner of ours. Dr. Blair, he calls me all the time, and we talk shop, and he asks me how's it's going. I kind of we share advice. He's not actually a partner of ours, but he certainly helps in any way he can. So they've been both really instrumental in helping guide the company.
You know, what's funny, my president of my company, Lori, been with me 20 years. She just mentioned, Charles Blair, Roger Levin, and me were just speaking at the Ohio State Dental Meeting last week, and I posted some selfies, and Lori said, I remember it was the first seminar she'd ever gone to in dentistry. She got a job with me 20 years ago, and the first the first seminar that she ever went was Charles Blair, and man, he's still just working. I asked him, I said, what do you do for fun these days? He goes, all I know is work. I just keep working. Work.
All kinds of cool little things he's trying to launch. Really neat stuff.
And what's that?
He's got this practice booster software that'll kind of analyze your how your practice is doing and telling you kind of where your fees are too low or high. He's got just all kinds of little stuff. That's the main reason why he didn't have time to partner with me, because he said, look, if I'm going to partner, I want to be all in, and I've got all this 2 or 3 different projects he's working on. And I said, I get it, Dr. Blair. If you could just be a resource for me to call for advice every once in a while. And he's been great. I mean, he put us in touch with the North Carolina Dental Society, so we're working with I'm meeting with them in a week to chat about helping North Carolina dentists, educate them about how to offer membership plans in their offices, and whether or not they use DentalHQ or not. It's all about just making it more accessible for the consumer and helping dentists understand what they can and kind of can't do, and at least in North Carolina and beyond.
Every time I read anything by a healthcare economist, like say Regina Hertzlinger from Harvard, who's got a doctorate in business administration, a DBA, they always say the American healthcare system, about 30% of the cost is just shuffling paper. And it's always blown my mind that Steve Jobs came out with a smartphone in 2007, and I still have to, people come in, they have to bring paper, they have to bring cut down trees. Then I got to get on a phone line and call some other monkey without a tail. And I'm always thinking, well, why don't those dental insurance companies just have an app, and they just come in and I just, it brings up a barcode, I scan it, and there you are. And there's everything I need to know. There's Brett Wells. His plan,
Yep.
You know how many times someone comes in and they got to go back to work and they got to go back to the factory and they got to find HR and they got to get their paperwork. And it's here's Delta, the biggest dental insurance company in the world, and why isn't it paperless on their smartphone?
Yeah, the dental insurance industry as a whole is just ripe for disruption. Medical insurance as well. It's so outdated, and I got a little bit of some insider information in that about 45% of all the revenue that comes in from a dental insurance company is just overhead. It's administrative cost. Their margins are really only 5%, but the dentists only see about 55% of those premiums, and then 40% goes to administrative and 5% goes to profit. So I just had a paper published in Dental Economics, which this is a really interesting statistic that was published in the ADA that not many people caught, was that 70% of the time when a consumer buys their own dental insurance, the cost of the copays and premiums outweigh the cost of the care they receive at full market price. The full prices of the dental office is lower than the premiums and the copays that they pay if they buy their own dental insurance. So it's almost always a lose-lose situation for a consumer to buy their own dental insurance.
Well, yeah, it's an actuarial risk analysis. You need a big pool of people.
Yeah.
For insurance. And that's the other thing that's crazy about this whole conversation is there's no such thing as dental insurance anyway. I mean, it's a benefit. The only benefit is if your employer pays for it. But I mean, insurance would be 100 people have insurance on a car, but only one person stacks it every year. Fire insurance. I've lived in my neighborhood for 30 years, and I've only seen 3 houses burn down. It's about a once in a decade event that some house goes up in flames. So everybody pays a little bit. One guy claims. But with dentistry, if you insured 100 people, 100% would need a clean exam and X-ray, a 6-month recall. They all drink Dr. Pepper and eat Funyuns. So you can't really spread the risk around.
There's been a 3-fold increase in the percent of private consumers who have gone and bought their own dental insurance in the last 5 years. So it went from about 3% to about 10%. And the only reason that makes sense is just that it's a monthly premium. They can break their payments up. Because if you look at the cost is almost always going to be more if you buy your own insurance. But that's, one of the things that gets me so excited about the membership plan is that we're able to now directly compete with the dental insurances by offering a monthly plan. You can call it a premium or a plan, whatever. But now we directly compete, but you remove all the administrative overhead, and it's just directly between you and the consumer, so it's more profitable for the dentist, more profitable or less costly for the consumer. It's just a win-win and a lose for the insurance company. So if you read any article from the insurance companies about direct primary care, I mean, they just talk about how it's the worst thing ever. But it's obviously one of the best things, both in healthcare with concierge medicine and dentistry with subscription-based dentistry.
So you think this is right now, do you think these membership plans are bleeding edge and they're kind of feeling out the market? Or do you think it's now past that and gone to leading edge? I mean, do you think this is going to have a serious impact in the dental healthcare macroeconomics in dentistry?
I can tell you that the insurance companies are very aware of the dental membership kind of momentum that's been created. And this isn't a new thing. I mean, as any dentist, as a lot of us know, dentists have been offering their own plans for 8, 10, 15, 20 years maybe. It's just probably in the last few years that some different automated solutions have come out to really take this thing to make it go gangbusters, where everyone's starting to hear about it. You're starting to read about it. And I would say, it went from maybe 5 to 10% of offices, or maybe even less than 5 when I first started, to now, I mean, I would say almost every dentist I know has some sort of plan, whether or not they do it themselves and manually kind of offer it, or they automate it with a third-party software. I don't think it's going anywhere because it's such a win-win for the dentist and the consumer, and it's only going to continue to increase over the coming years.
Okay, why you? They've just on my podcast alone, they've heard several different people that do this.
Sure.
So what is your unique selling proposition? Why should they do DentalHQ?
Well, exactly. So, I think one thing that's pretty unique about us, and I think there may have been one other one, but the kind of the big players don't have this aspect, which is, we're created by dentists for dentists. I developed and critiqued this through what I saw happening at my office, what our pain and sticking points were. I worked with Dr. Charles Blair, Dr. Roger Levin to try to, mold this into something that will be great for the entire profession. Whenever we implement a new program or a new upgrade, I'm watching it in my dental office. I'm seeing what works, what doesn't work. I'm talking to my office manager, my front desk, my team members to see what the sticking points are, what they want to improve. So I'm in it. I'm in the trenches with everyone else, and I'm seeing what's going on every day. So it's allowed me to really kind of create the software, and we're constantly doing upgrades to be more useful for dentists. We also built it to create unlimited, unique, customized plans, which there's a lot of kind of rigidity with a lot of the other plans out there, where you kind of like, here's your options, take it or leave it. As far as you create unlimited plans, you can create monthly plans or annual plans, and I think our price point's pretty fair. I think what I've seen with any of the dentists who become pretty entrepreneurial and go and start their own companies is that we're very cognizant of how much we spend or overspend on different supplies and marketing and whatnot. And so I was very cognizant of that when I built this. And so to sign up, there's no cost, so there's no risk to you. You can sign up, check it out. If you don't like it, you don't pay us $1. You don't use it. We only make money if you use the plan. We keep a small residual of each membership, about 8%. For like a $30 membership, that's about $250, $275. And if you don't sign up any members, we don't make a dime. But for me, I've spent enough money with different marketing companies who have promised me the world and haven't delivered that for me, this model, this setup on the way we have monetized it seemed the most fair for dentists.
Nice. So more details. So how do they actually sign up? What's their deal? They go to DentalHQ.com.
Yeah, there's a little sign up button on the upper right. It's going to ask them a few questions to get the process started. They're going to get emailed a link. They're going to go to that link, go through about 2 or 3 steps. We've got a great membership plan, kind of automator predictor where they enter a few of their fees.
Is that on the smartphone? You said go to the hamburger? Is it the hamburger icon you go to?
I would have to see it on my smartphone to see. I know on a desktop it's at the top right. I would have to see it.
Oh, sure. So you go to the hamburger and then go to enroll my office?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
So enroll my practice. It's a little pop-up screen with a few questions. I mean, the whole process takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So it's not too bad. You can be up and going. It's fully automated. You get your box of marketing materials in a couple weeks later, and you're rocking and rolling. We have a client success division that will do a 30 or 45 minute kind of onboarding session, training session. We'll teach you how to use the software, how to maximize your membership program, how to set it up. Our software sign-up process itself kind of helps you come up with your fees. You enter what your fee schedule is on a few of your fees, and it pops out a recommended membership fee that you can either use or not use. So it really kind of walks you through it, holds your hand, walks you through the whole process of setting your plan up. And the other thing that's really unique about us is one of the things I'm really excited about this was I was like, okay, now as dentists, by creating monthly automated plans, this is something that we can go directly to consumers. So at some point, we want to go really direct to consumers. We built this really awesome marketplace where once we get big enough and have enough dentists utilizing the platform, we can then go direct to consumers on behalf of dentists and say, hey, here's some great dentists in your area. Here's some dentists down your neighborhood. Here's, pictures of the offices, services, hours. And by the way, the biggest question mark, the biggest thing holding you back as a consumer, which is cost, it's going to cost you $30 a month to go see this dentist. So I put everything the consumer needs right in the touch of their fingers, and that's kind of connected to DentalHQ. And nobody else has any kind of marketplace like that with these subscriptions. But my ultimate vision is taking this awesome thing we're doing as a profession and helping dentists go direct to consumers to bring in more patients who don't have insurance, and help consumers see you don't need dental insurance. It's a waste of your money. Here's a much better solution.
Boy, you're right. Dental insurance is extremely ripe for disruption. I think universities are the most. I mean, universities have been increasing the cost of tuition 2 to 3 times greater than inflation for decades when it could virtually all be done. I mean, and I think that Invisalign is starting to reality check the orthodontists. I mean, those guys, no matter what they do, they don't budge on their $6,500 treatment plan case. Yeah. And so now Invisalign's going around them with Smiles Direct Club. If you said that insurance companies have 45% overhead, pay 50% premiums, and only net 5%, that looks like they're on the brink of a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, this is information I got from somebody in the business. I don't know, how accurate it is or not, but it's certainly not information that insurance companies want us to know.
Well, you know why it's not accurate is because of the dysfunction of the dentist. I mean, you go into any other industry. My dad, had 9 Sonic drive-ins and bought $1 million of meat from this guy every year, and that was like one of his best friends. Everybody, I mean, you know how many suppliers it takes to make an iPhone or to assemble a Ford 150, and the value chain, everybody works together, but the dentist has had a abusive relationship with insurance companies since day one. I mean, the insurance company will give them, $300,000-$400,000, and the dentist will write 1 letter to them a year, and it includes profanity because they didn't cover some procedure. And then they want to know. I mean, I can't tell you. I've asked every insurance company there is to come on this show, and they're like, dude, I'll go sit at a bar and drink with you till 3 a.m. But your homies are crazy, and they're kind of afraid of them. I lectured to a dental insurance group in Florida just a few months ago, and there's like 300 or 400 people there, and they showed me all this amazing stuff. And I'm like, please let me post it on Dental Town or give me the. And they're like, hell no, those it'll all be used against us. And but like I was in Ohio I just said at that meeting, Charles Blair and Roger Layden. Where was the executive director of the Ohio Delta Dental? Where was the big blue? They're never invited to the party. They're never included. And so dentists have been treating each other. I mean, think of how many geopolitical countries do that. And, them and their neighbor have been dysfunctional towards each other. Greece and Turkey. I mean, these guys haven't seen eye to eye forever. And that's the way dentistry is. And until they start showing some respect to these CEOs and start inviting them to the conventions. I mean, how many dentists are listening right now? They got over $100,000 last year from just one dental insurance company. And if you pull them over their car, rip that podcast out of their ear and put a gun to their head and say, name the CEO of the company that gave you this $100,000. And they're like, I don't know. But they'll but they'll listen to Kim Kardashian talk for an hour, and it's like, well, if that dude gave you $100,000 and you live in the same town with him in Cleveland, Ohio, why do you not know his name? Why didn't you go to lunch? Why didn't you go to dinner? I look at how many dental insurance companies where maybe they're going in to sell this factory dental insurance. Well, how come I've never seen an email saying, hey, our sales guy's going in there. It'd be really nice to have 3 dentists from the zip code that practice across the street to go in and help me, sell this policy. I mean, there's just none of that. And I blame that not on the insurance companies because I blame it on the dentist, man. Big egos.
Well, I mean, I think, the dialogue always can be improved, but I think there's been some states where, the dentists have tried to create a dialogue and it's just, it hasn't helped, and so the dentists like me in North Carolina hear about these situations. Like I think Washington State's going through a lot of a hard time right now with Delta. And you hear these stories and it makes you go, well, I don't, they're not in it for us. They don't want to help us, so it makes you hesitant to go open up the dialogue. But, it's going to require both sides coming together and finding some common ground. But I think it's only getting worse. I think, what I'm experiencing 10 years now versus 10 years ago, it's worse now than it was 10 years ago as far as the denied claims and, the adversarial relationships. It's only kind of dissolved.
Well, now I mean, when the American Dental Association has the best healthcare economists in the world. I mean, he worked for the World Health Organization, the United Nations. I mean, just an amazing guy, that Marco.
He wrote that paper.
Yeah, Marco Vico, is it? Is it Vico?
I couldn't even begin to pronounce.
And he can't even go next door to Delta in Chicago, the parent company, and get insurance claims to run algorithms through. So some of these age-old questions, like how long does an amalgam last versus a posterior composite? I mean, here's insurance companies with hundreds of millions of dollars of claims, and he couldn't even get them to meet at a Starbucks for coffee. That's how bad it's get. But I'll tell you where it always ends up. 5 fingers. Faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, and more miniature. And what you're going to see is a disintermediation of the middleman. So the question right now in economics is if you're going to make it lower cost, well, then you get rid of the middleman. I mean, that was Walmart's entire deal. You had Sears, Gibson, TG&Y, coast to coast, and he said, well, I'm not going to buy my paper towels from the Procter & Gamble rep for Arkansas who takes a 25% markup and only calls on my store once a month. Yeah. And by the time he gets here, we've got empty shelf space. He goes, this is America. I'll find someone that will sell me paper towels direct. And this is going to be, if what you do, the consumer's already invested $1,000 in a smartphone, which is a bigger computer than what landed on the Apollo mission, what landed on the moon. And if this smartphone replaces the middleman, my gosh, that's it. Disintermediation. Is that where you see this going over the next 10 years?
Yes, the relationship with insurance companies has become more adversarial. Yes, they're not increasing our reimbursement rates and making things tougher. But there's been so many advances in dentistry, in my opinion, that I still think we're working the golden age. I'm a big CEREC guy. I love doing CERECs. I've taken all the courses. I'm fully bought in. I think when you start doing CERECs, it drives the cost of care down. I think there's so many SaaS companies, from companies that will help automate the texting, reminders, reactivation of your patients. There's so many more tools we have in our hands right now that can make it more efficient for us to practice dentistry and keep our schedules full that we didn't have 10 years ago. That I think that's overcoming the kind of difficulties we're having with the insurance companies. And one of them certainly is in-house membership plans. By directly competing with the insurance companies, we're able to start driving those consumers to us instead of going first to the insurance company and then coming to see us at a much heavier markdown on our reimbursement rate. So, I think we're really potentially kind of I feel like we're kind of in a golden age. There's so many tools I'm learning about every week, different companies that are helping me grow my business, become more efficient, become more profitable, that, it's really overcome any lack of, I think my MetLife fees have been increased once in 10 years. They're just maybe twice. They're not keeping up with inflation, that's for sure. But I've been able to find ways to make my practice more efficient and profitable in other ways. So
now, when you say your practice, your wellsfamilydental.com, I see 3 addresses: Wake Forest, North Raleigh, downtown Raleigh. Do you have 3 offices?
Yep.
Holy moly. 3 out, and you only been out 12 years?
I love it. Yeah. So I did my first one about 10 years ago, and the second one with a colleague of mine, Downtown Dental, about 5 years ago. And then we just opened our third one about 6 months ago. So it's fun.
So the last 2 you had a partner. So the first one was your own, and then the number 2 and 3 you had a partner?
So the first one was my own. Number 2 was 50-50 with my partner. And then we've just merged the first and second. And then the third one, my partner for the other ones has a small piece of. And then, but my model is to allow my great associates to buy in. And so we kind of just create a great group practice where everyone has the same goal in mind, and we're kind of intertwined with the business and the success.
Well, if you don't believe that incentives matter, then Russia should have a bigger economy than the United States. It's just so obvious to me that when you own your own practice, and a molar comes in, you do the molar root canal. When you're an associate, you refer to an endodontist. When a tough tooth comes in and you're an owner, you pull the damn wisdom tooth. And when you're an associate, you refer to an oral surgeon. And that's the curse of DSOs. The curse of DSOs is that their doctors don't have any skin in the game. And then you're selling the invisible, and associates, whether they're in private practice or in DSOs, the turnover is every 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
The lowest turnover I've ever seen with an associate in private or government or whatever is about 20% per year. It's about as good as I've ever seen it. But when someone comes in, and this is what lawyers had to figure out. Lawyers had the same problem with all associates. And how did they figure it out? They said, well, after 4 or 5 years or whatever, you'll make partner. And if you come in there and you hustle and you get out there running for mayor and you bring in some big cases and lawsuits and you're hustling, that say, we'll make you a partner. And now there's a lot of DSOs that say, oh no, Wall Street just wants to own all this. We only want you guys to be all employees. You're never going to be in the game. We're not publicly traded. You won't even have stock. And it's incentives matter, don't they?
Absolutely. And, incentives matter. I'm also a big, I love Richard Branson's kind of approach to business, which is, you take care of your people and they take care of your customers. So we take great care of our team. I don't want this group model with doing multi-locations if I'm dealing with new associates every year or 2 at each location. I only want this if I have a stable group of dentists who care about quality care for our patients and are going to be with me forever. So that's my vision, and that's kind of what we're growing. And we'll see, everything's going great so far. We've got a lot of people that are really bought in. And so, it's easy for me, and I get to do what I really like is kind of growing the business and kind of tweaking the operations and seeing what works and what doesn't work and talking to all these other SaaS software companies and kind of seeing what can help our company. We've got all kinds of really cool stuff we've implemented, and like even with DentalHQ. So we found, we wanted to do in-house payment plans. So we found a company called Verity that helps you automate your in-house payment plans, and they even have an option that allows you to guarantee your in-house payment plans if the patient pays a little bit extra. So the patient stops paying at month 3, Verity steps in and makes the rest of the payments. And we thought it was so great, we integrated their software right into DentalHQ. So now you've got membership plans for consumers without insurance. You've got in-house payment plans you can do right through DentalHQ. And then we've got more stuff coming. So, all this stuff is just giving us more ammunition to kind of make it easier for the consumer to get the care that they need.
So right on your website, WellsFamilyDental.com. By the way, all four of my boys' middle name is Wells. Did you know that? Well, I grew up with five sisters, and I watched sexism, which begins at home, where, I could go swim in the river. They couldn't get 10 feet from the edge. My mom put me in jeans and ironed pants on the outside, put them in dresses, and they get in trouble if they were soiled. And when I got married and had my four boys, I just thought it was horrendous that their mom gives up their name. They're all Farran. So I took her last name, and it's the middle name, Wells, of all four of my boys. And they think it's really cool because they're all four the only ones they know that are Wells Farrans. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think it's cool. But I love on your website. And by the way, your first name, why do you go by Brett? Your first name, L. is Lauren, and you were named partly after Lauren Michaels of Saturday Night Live?
Well, okay. Yes. I was supposed, so now I'm going to tell one of my really embarrassing stories to all of Dental Town, where I've been a member since 2004. But, so my name was supposed to be Lauren Brett Wells, Lorne. But the way my mom tells it, it's Lauren, so it's Loren. And so the way my mom tells the story is that, after having me, she was so exhausted that the nurse just put the E before the N, and she just kind of told him to go with it. It was fine. And so that caused about 18 or maybe 13 or 14 years of just horrible first days of school where, Lauren Wells, and they would be looking for the girl in the class, and, it would be me, and, so, I just dreaded the first day of school. So since then, I've always gone by Brett. Now, I think it's a great name, but, I kind of grew up going by Brett, but.
So yours is spelled Loren?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Lorne, but I kind of like it.
What is Lauren Michaels? How's he spell it with Saturday Night Live?
R-N-E.
R-N-E?
Yeah. L-O-R-N-E, yeah.
Yeah, and I love Saturday Night Live. It's gosh darn. So, but I love the fact that on your site, it says no insurance, no problem. Join our in-house membership plan. Includes cleanings, exams, X-rays, and discounts on treatment. Only $25 a month. Sign up here. I mean, and then I go ask a dentist, and I'll say, how many people land on your website each month? I don't know. Well, what percent convert and call the office? I don't know. Oh, what do you know? Oh, I mean, like right now in Phoenix, the whole town's excited because there's a big digital denture conference in Scottsdale this weekend, and I swear, God, I mean, they'll have 1,000 dentists.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many people I know that are coming from out of town to see that thing, and every one of them will just drool and want to buy this technology and want to make digital dentures. And they don't even know for how many dentures they do, how many of them landed on their website, potential dentures, and never even converted. Because why? Because they didn't have insurance, because they didn't have a friendly website. And what's even funnier is the ones that are coming, with the exception of Ryan McCall, who's like the denture god. He's like the denture god guru. But these other denture people I know that are just elite in dentures. And you go to their website, it doesn't even say dentures. They didn't buy a digital camera and even post one where they said, this is my own work. Here's my before and after denture. And it's like, I just want to go down there and say, guys, I know you love dentures. I know you love technology, but do you realize how many more dentures you could do if you just got your house in order and got your business in order? Ryan posts a denture case that he did every single day on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I mean, talk about a marketing genius. He's a denture genius, but he's a business genius, and he's a yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we as dentists, we get, I don't have the right word on me now, but we just kind of get set in our ways. Everything's going well. The schedule's full enough and we're content. And so, you forget to continue to improve your practice and track things and keep track of your metrics and, continuing to move your practice forward. So one thing that I noticed when I kind of cut my hours back and did more running of my business was, now we're signing up and bringing in companies that really start tracking the metrics. And so we can really start improving things like retention rates and reactivation of our patients. We're big into membership plans, cause that's been a passion of mine for 7 or 8 years. We're looking at call tracking and monitoring our calls. So, that's one thing as dentists, we just let go by the wayside because we're content. Things are going well and it's and it's really easy to just keep the status quo instead of looking at making changes. But, I would really implore dentists to look at in-house membership plans, whether or not you use an automated third party or just do an annual plan, something to give consumers a more palatable entry into your office and something that you can market on your website easily.
Do you think on your website, by having in big bold letters, join our in-office membership plan, no insurance, no problem, do you think that increased the conversion rate of people in Raleigh landing on your website to convert and call?
Well, I think absolutely. We've had patients who sign up into our membership plan who we haven't even talked to on the phone yet. We've actually had patients, because when you sign up into our membership plan, it sends the office an email, lets you know you have a new member, and it lets you know if they want you to call them or they're going to call you. And we've gotten people sign up who are like, we're looking at our charts and we're like, this isn't even a patient of ours, So they find our website, they sign up for the membership plan, we get an email, and then we call them and schedule the appointment. So it's been really awesome.
Yeah, that is amazing. Another thing you have is CERAC, and I know a lot of kids listen to yours like, I don't have the money for that. I have $350,000 student loans. Do you think a CERAC machine was a return on investment in your office?
I think so. Here's what I think. I think initially when I first got a CERAC about 5 years ago, I think it was a break even. Because, what they don't tell you is you got a burr you have to replace every, 8 or 10 uses. It's like $15. You got to do the oil. Back then it was the powder. There was, your CERAC club every month. And I was like, well, this is, kind of neat. I hate, bringing patients back and getting them numb and doing this cementation of the crowns. And I didn't have to do that anymore, and patients liked it. The crowns come out amazing. But once CERAC kind of continued to evolve to where I restore implants now, my lab fee for restoring an implant is $150 with the CERAC, whereas it was $700 before. And I'll still send an occasional one out, but I'm doing 90+% of them on my CERAC, and they come out amazing. I can do bridges with my CERAC now. There's so many like higher cost lab procedures that I can now do with my CERAC, to where, yes, it's absolutely a revenue generator. And now that Shine's kind of come on board, I think the price, and not even Shine, but all the other great intraoral sensors and improving options out there are just going to continue to make the prices more palatable. But, you don't have to go buy $120,000 brand new CERAC. You go on Dentaltown classified section, you can find a ton of them for half that price. I've thought about buying some there myself. So, I think
on the classified ads on Dentaltown?
Yeah. You can always find them.
I don't do enough in-house commercials on my site, but my gosh, Dentaltown has on any given day 6,000 classified ads, and that if you bought an F-150 pickup truck brand new and just drove it off the lot and then did a U-turn and drove it back, what percent of the value would you lose?
Yeah.
And here's Dentaltown, free classified ads, 6,000. Before you go buy something expensive, see what they're selling for. And when you start it's also a great negotiating deal. If some guy's trying to sell you something for 50,000 and you say, well, dude, I get one used on Dentaltown today. It's a year old for 25. Well, they might come back and say, okay, well, I'll lower the price. Yeah. Or throw in training or whatever. But that Dentaltown classified ads is
a dozen things off of Dentaltown classified ads. I think it's great.
Yeah. But they're spending all their time on Tinder, swiping left, when they should be on the Dentaltown. I loved what Bill Maher said the other night. He donated $1 million or something, and they said, how do you have just $1 million laying around? And he says, because I've never married, I've never divorced, I've never had alimony, I never had kids, I never had palimony. And in Hollywood, you hardly have to make any money at all. And then by the time you're 60, you have millions of dollars because you didn't make all these decisions, which is my leading question to, you got a partner. 50% of marriages fail, and that involves great love and sex and vacations and children. Why did you decide to get a partner?
Well, at the time I had a really busy practice up in North Raleigh, and my partner, Dr. Adam Moore, was just starting a practice out in Garner, just outside of Raleigh. And so he had more time than I did. I had just moved downtown, And I really like the idea of opening up a practice right in the heart of downtown Raleigh. It's a really up and coming area. Now it's just booming, but then it was just starting to really uptick. And so, I called Adam one day and we were kind of hanging out a lot. And I said, Adam, what do you think about opening up a dental practice right in downtown Raleigh? And he said, I've always thought of that, and I've always thought of the name Downtown Dental. And I said, that's a perfect name. Do you want to do it together? And he said, yeah, let's do it together. And so we did it together, and we've got different personalities that mesh well. And so, he kind of knows what I like to do and I know what he likes to do. And we always just, walk that delicate balance. And then it kind of came to the point where I really wanted to merge it into my practice and kind of really expand things. And, he was all about that. And so now, I am kind of leading the ship. So I have the majority ownership now of everything, but we still have a great partnership and friendship, and he still contributes to the practice, and we're doing great things now and growing, like gangbusters. So it's been a good partnership for us.
You have been out of school 12 years, have 3 offices, and started DentalHQ and have a Facebook group, Dental Foodies. I see these kids come out of school. I mean, my 31-year practice was last week. This is 9/24, so 9/21/84. So I graduated 87, May 11, and 133 days later had my office open. And now I just see kid after kid after kid. They get a different associateship job every year for 5 years, and they just don't pull the trigger. And then I read this, Bill Gates recommended this book, so I was reading this book. I don't even want to try to take a stab at the guy's name. Can you pronounce that name?
Yuval Noah something.
Yuval Noah Harari. It's called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. And the most interesting thing I loved about this book is how he was saying that, that incremental improvement evolution, most top predators like bears and sharks got there over millions of years. But all of a sudden, humans had some mutation where all of a sudden they could talk, advanced language, and so, and all that stuff. But when they all of a sudden became a top predator, the day before they were a top predator, they were a scared monkey. They were a marginal animal. They lived in fear. They were always scared. They were always hiding up in trees. So we still carry that baggage. We're the top predator. We live everywhere on land. But our biology is still this little scared ape who's always scared and fear and nightmares. And look at a shark. You ever see any fear in a shark's face or a grizzly bear? I mean, so we didn't slowly become top predator. We did it overnight, and they just live in fear. What would you tell? Right now, a quarter of our listeners are still in dental school. The rest are all under 30. I get like one email a week to howard@dentaltown.com that says, dude, I'm as old and fat and ugly as you. And so they come out of school and they think, I'm in fear. I need to do a GPR. I need to go get a job as an associate. I need to join the Navy. What makes you different? Why did you just dive in head first and got 3 offices in 12 years? And what advice could you tell this scared little monkey to just pull the trigger?
So, this will be a little different than, maybe slightly different than your perspective, Howard, but I did do a residency, a 1-year AGD down in Jacksonville, Florida, and it was not a 5th year of dental school. It was an absolute rock star of a program. I placed 50 implants. I did full mouth rehabilitation, tons of endo, prosthetics, oral surgery. And I came out of that program and I had the confidence, tons of confidence. And my clinical side, I was very confident in. And I've always been very entrepreneurial, business minded. So my game plan, first, I talked to a bunch of dentists. I worked with one and, it just didn't seem very organized. And I found a spot. I said, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to open up my own office. And I will say, and we definitely show this, that opening up that practice is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my career, and opening it quickly.
It was a de novo scratch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, from scratch. And why did you do that instead of buying an existing?
Because back then, and it's still kind of the case now with Raleigh, there weren't a lot of dentists, because Raleigh is such a growing city. There weren't a lot of dentists retiring and selling their practice. I mean, you would have to hear about it through the grapevine, and then by the time you heard about it, it was already sold. So there weren't a lot of opportunities to buy an existing practice, although I think that's, especially right now with the construction costs, definitely the way to go. But back then, there definitely weren't many options. So I found a location. I did a scratch start. Luckily, I picked the right location because, I mean, we went pretty gangbusters pretty quick out there and was able to develop a really strong practice.
And where does your free enterprise background come from? Was it just curiosity? Did your mom and dad own their own business? Where does this come from?
Yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur. He started a nationwide company. He sold probably 10 or 15 years ago. You know, my mom's really creative. My dad's really driven. I'm always coming up with ideas, and I'm the kind of guy I don't want to die with regret. And so if I have a great idea, you know, I'll vet it to people. And if I think it can be good and help people and go into something great, then I'm going to do it. And I might lose, but you know, at least I don't have to regret not trying. So I'm definitely, you know, have the entrepreneurial spirit where, you know, I've got plenty of other ideas, to help dentistry as well, you know, some of which I'm even already working on, but I've got a lot of other cool stuff to come over my career. I'm 10 years in. I got another 20 or 30 to go, but I love the entrepreneurial stuff. I always have, and it's just what gets me excited.
It is just fair. I mean, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and my gosh, 25% of the people here are retired from. I think my Phoenix. Sometimes I'll read in the paper that Phoenix is 10% of the homes that turned in the last year were Canadians, and so there's so many retired people, and within a mile or so miles, just all these retirees, and every time I love talking to them, especially when they're 80, 90, 100 years old. And I used to always, for 30 years, I used to say, well, what advice will they give me? Or what would you have done differently? And they always said that they wish they would have taken the risk to follow their dreams. And someday you're going to be laying in a pine box. So what do you got to lose? Right. And it seems to be their biggest regret was just living in fear and not following their dreams and not taking a risk. One man said, well, you know, I wanted that pension. So I stayed with that company from age 25 to 65, and I always knew I should have opened up that restaurant. You know what I mean? And then there's a guy.
It has not always been successful. Speaking of restaurants, I have lost, but you know, I come up with a great idea, and I'm exactly like that. I don't want to 50 years from now me to say, boy, I wish I had done that. I think it could have been a really great thing. And so I'm going to do it. You know, anytime I come up with a great idea, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give it my all. I'm not gonna, you know, put something out that's not as good as it could be. I put my 100% of my effort every time I do a new business. And I think you'll see that with DentalHQ, with my dental offices. I can't stand to have something substandard. So if I'm gonna build it, if I'm gonna put the time into it, it's gonna be done right.
So you loved your GPR. That is so great to hear. Of all your friends that you hear about, what percent of GPR experiences are like yours, where they were great, versus they weren't great and they were in some situation where they didn't feel like they learned that much?
None of my close friends did poor ones. So, you know, I think it's very important to do your research. I think there's a lot of bad ones that are just like 5 years of dental school, but I think there's a lot of amazing ones that are so much more than a 5-year dental school. That's like it's like really like 5 years in practice, you know, tons of, you know, yes, you could do a ton of CE, and I think that's what you should do if you don't do a really great advanced AGD or GPR. But, you know, doing a really good one, it just gave me that confidence I needed when I got out to really start rocking and rolling. And I didn't worry about my clinical side at all. It was just about focusing on, okay, where's my practice going to be? Am I going to buy an existing one? Am I going to partner with somebody? Am I going to open my own? What am I going to do? And I didn't have to worry about where my clinical skills were. You know, that was good. I had done a ton of dentistry in that year and learned. I had done a lot more advanced stuff than I would ever do in private practice, you know, so it gives you that comfort level. So for me, that was one of the best decisions I ever made as far as my education, was doing that extra year. But I absolutely know, and I've heard in different forums, listening to people's stories about doing programs that aren't that advanced. And it really being a waste of time. So do your research. There's great programs out there, and don't waste your time on the bad ones.
And if you're in doubt, I mean, you got a smartphone, you got a Dentaltown app. There's a 250,000 dentists on there. Just don't be a scared monkey. You think you're going to make a post on Dentaltown, and tomorrow all the dentists in the world are going to wake up and wondering what Susan is doing today. I mean, that's just not how monkeys roll. Monkeys only think about themselves. So just ask the question. No one's thinking about you anyway, so just ask the damn question. Be fearless and post. And I think you just don't live with regrets. Just do it. Quit listening to the fear. Quit listening to everything goes wrong. Remember that when you finance a practice, only 0.4% of them default on their loan, and it's always because they have their license taken away. 80% of that is alcohol. The other 20% is Vicodin, and even that's fixable. I mean, if you're waking up every morning and drinking vodka and eating Vicodin, you can even get that fixed. I mean, even that's fixed. It's called the Betty Ford Center. Man, I'm your biggest fan. I just love your ambition. I love your fearless flying. I just love everything you're doing. And I thank you so much for taking an hour out of your busy life to come on the show. And one last thing to the kids. You know your grandparents always burned less than they earned. They always saved money. And if there's one thing that scares me about this next generation is if they go from $10 an hour and they get a raise at work to 12, they immediately raise their burn. And they go from a 1-bedroom apartment to a 2-bedroom. And then they'll get a raise for $15 an hour, so they'll immediately buy a new car. Their burn is always raised to whatever they earn. And you have to burn less than you earn. And when it comes down to continuing education, we have 400 courses on Dentaltown for $18 a piece. And they always have to get in a jet, fly across the country, stay in a resort, drop $3,000 to learn something they could have made for 18. Half of those speakers on Dentaltown, if you just Google their name on YouTube, probably have a YouTube channel where you can watch 20 hours for free. One of my rock star buddies, Jared Pope, learned how to place dental implants just because every night he came home from work, he got on YouTube and searched dental implant surgery and would watch hours of just posted dental. And within a year, he said, I'd seen, 10,000 hours of all these surgeries, and he just felt bulletproof. And then the best CE is when you just walk across the street to your periodontist and shake your damn hand and say, hey, if I ever have an afternoon fall apart on my schedule, can I come over and watch you? And all monkeys want a friend. Now the periodontist got a friend, the best hands-on CE. But what I love about the specialist across the street is when you do screw up, you got a periodontist across the street. You got an oral surgeon. I mean, if you end up pulling out that wisdom tooth and only get the top half out, you got a buddy that'll pull the bottom half out for you. And so just figure out the 5 fingers. Answer this test on everything. Is it faster? Is it easier? Is it higher quality? Is it lower in cost? Is it more miniature? And if you do all that, you're going to have a rocking good career. Lauren, I know you don't want to go by Lauren. You want to go by L. Brett Wells, but you're Lauren to me. You're Lauren Brett Wells, DDS. Thank you so much for all that you've done for dentistry and Dentaltown, and thank you so much for coming on the show today. I hope you have a rocking hot day.
Howard, you have been a role model of mine for many years. I would not have had that first practice if it wasn't for the hundreds of thousands of hours I spent on Dentaltown researching how to do it. So it's an honor to be on your show. I'm still a little bit in awe that I'm even here. Thanks everybody for listening, and I look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully at some point here.
All right, well, come to the next county meeting and tell us what you're doing. It's in Scottsdale next year. I think it's like April something in Scottsdale, and you come down here and we'll meet at the bar and we'll drink until I know everything.
Sounds like a perfect night to me.
All right, buddy. Have a rocking good day.
All right, Howard.